Welcome to the Credit Union Sales and Marketing Podcast. Your hosts, Bill McKenna, Paul Robert, and special guests discuss ideas for creating alignment in your sales and marketing efforts and ways to accelerate growth. Now let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of the Credit Union Sales and Marketing Podcast. Sometimes I go to forget
Easy
what
to
accent
say,
I'm going to
isn't
say.
it?
I start off and I'm like, what am I talking about here? But you know, that's the way it is sometimes on a Friday after a busy week, right, Paul?
Yeah, exactly. You trip on your tongue too much. That happens to all of us. It's been a busy week, Bill. Thank God it's Friday, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a crazy rainy season here up in Allentown, Pennsylvania area, and our guest today is Jason. He's going to be introducing himself in just a second. Jason lives in the same area, but we've had like record rainfall here. It's been ridiculous, and literally almost every day in the forecast there's a chance of rain. So it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
well,
what
send
it
some
is.
down our way because we need it. But
Yeah. So Jason
Yeah,
Causa
there he
is
is.
back with us today from Reviews Up. And Jason, you have the privilege of being our very first guest, second-time guest on the Credit Union Sales and Marketing Podcast. So you must have done something right for us to invite you back. So why don't you introduce yourself, Jason, and tell us, what you're up to these days, and tell us a little bit about Reviews Up again.
Well, I feel truly honored, and either I did such a good job or I did a horrible job explaining myself the first time, and you needed to invite me back to get more clarity. No, I greatly appreciate the opportunity, and I love talking with you guys and sharing some insight. I am the founding partner of Reviews Up. We are a reputation management software platform that provides great services to credit unions, and and not just in reputation management, but in overall guidance and how it parlays into everything else that credit unions should be mindful of right now, optimizing for current trends online, and really just building trust and helping everyone, focus on their efforts and converting more members.
Yeah, awesome.
I love that.
And Jason, what I love about your company is that obviously we work with you and some of our clients, but that isn't the only reason we brought you on. The reason we want to talk about it is because this whole reputation thing is such an important topic. But what I really love about what you guys are doing is and we're not going to get into a lot of that today, but I know your company is very forward thinking in the use of AI and other technologies that are really driving our industry. Tell us a tiny bit about what you're doing there related to that.
Yeah, AI, I'm a partner in a proprietary AI company, so we have our own models, and they're all trained specifically for credit union needs, which is really important distinction when you're considering AI tools. But for our platform, for the enhancement of reputation, we use AI for a number of things that are really quite interesting. So a lot of times when reviews come in, good or bad, people always struggle with what to say. And our trained tool can actually give guidance on what to say, how to respond, how to create and insert content that's useful for Google search algorithms, right? Like dynamic citations and all that will benefit the credit unions. We use AI sentiment analysis for executive level reporting, which is great. You get a daily AI report card that'll say, hey, this is what people are saying about you. This is how we can respond to it. So we're heavily invested in it. We believe in it strongly, that it's got a lot of great capabilities to help. And a lot of times credit unions are dealing with limited staff, and some of these things could become troublesome to manage, and our AI tools make it very efficient. So we're big believers.
It's a big industry topic, right?
It totally is. And I love the reference, Jason, to just helping with how do you respond, because you got one chance to do that right. And AI can help you just maybe take a little bit different perspective or use different verbiage and so forth. And that's going to make all the difference. So love that aspect to it, because responding to that feedback is a critical piece of the process, isn't it?
Absolutely. Like you said, Paul, and you hit the nail on the head, you get really one good chance to respond, even to a poor review. It's a great opportunity. If you're tactful and professional, our tools will let you pick your tone. So if you want to be friendly or thoughtful or whatever, and manage the whole thing. So it really is a great opportunity to really shine in your customer service.
And when we talk about, and Paul, I know your work with credit unions, it really has a lot to do with this trust and member loyalty, right? Building this trust, this member loyalty. And every credit union wants to be trusted. And honestly, people want to find people they trust in all sorts of things in life, but especially with finances. You want to trust who you're talking to or who you're doing business with. And, there's a lot of companies out there worldwide today. You can do business with financial services, but trust is something credit unions have a great opportunity to build with their members. Paul, tell us about trust a little bit, what you're doing with the internal teams.
Yeah, I guess there's three things there, Bill and Jason. Number one, the first half of the name of our podcast here is sales, right? And so if your members don't trust you, or if your prospective members don't trust you, you don't stand a chance of selling to them. And too often in the sales process, we start with our products, we start with our rates, we start about how great we are, when in fact we haven't had an opportunity to build up trust or for them to really value that trust as we move forward. And so from a sales standpoint, guys, I think it's fundamental. We got to have it. The second thing is, I think people want to do business with companies that they trust and respect and have shared values with, and frankly are proud to say, I'm a member of this credit union, or I'm a customer of this company. I think that's more integral today to our success than it's ever been. And, I think the third thing then is being able to talk about our organization and having our employees speak proudly of who we are and what we do and why we do it and so forth. And, that's critical to our culture, but also those member engagements. And Jason, I'm intrigued by the fact that, the reviews can pertain to the organization, the credit union as a whole, but it can also spotlight individuals, right? As far as, people that help them, or maybe a certain branch and so forth. It's at an individual level many times, isn't it?
It really is, and these are great points, Paul, is that by having a reputation strategy, using tech tools that can help you, like for instance, we talked about the AI synopsis. Our AI can identify employees that are doing a great job or perhaps hurting you, and it's a great opportunity for leadership to go and, hey, give them a pat on the back. Hey, right. If you've got a person at such and such a branch that's getting all kinds of great feedback, maybe it's time you just, reach out and acknowledge them and just say, hey, thank you for doing such a great job. Conversely, if, somebody is getting mentioned frequently in a negative way, it's an opportunity for teaching there as well, because, this stuff, like you said, I'd love to go back to the roots of it all, sales and marketing podcast, right? Sales, so important. And to your point, if your public reputation is not living up to the expectation that your claims are making, you don't have a chance to swing the bat. And you won't even know how many opportunities you're missing, right? So a huge component of everything that we can do to stress the importance of is social proof, right? That's an important the key takeaway from this whole podcast today would be prove what your claims say, right? Mm-hmm. Let your members become your evangelists. Let your members tell everyone out there how good you are, right? Because that will have way more impact than you just saying, hey, we've got great services, we've got awesome rates. Right. Prove it, right? Yeah. Let your community membership prove it.
And Jason, interesting thing that I'm learning more and more about, I mean, you're the expert in this and your team has really put a lot of work into understanding how this works, but credit unions are spending a lot of money in digital marketing that is completely ineffective because they're not looking at the way they could really maximize their online reviews and how Google finds them. Isn't that correct?
It's completely correct. And that's a very important point to make. So, you could spend all the money in the world to tell people about your credit union and your products and your services and all that. At the end of the day, they're going to end up at a search page, right? And all of that has to be backed up by what they find online. So you can say, hey, we're the best credit union in the world and we've got all these great products. And then when they search you out, what are they finding? So Google does a really good job of this now in their AI synopsis. And they'll bring all of that sentiment. So they're not only looking for things like member reviews, public reviews, they're looking at employee reviews. It's a huge component of Google's overall algorithm. This is affecting your overall prestige, and it's costing you opportunity if you don't address it.
Hey, let me jump in there because you knew I would, Bill, because I'm all about the culture, right? The employee reviews is so intriguing to me, Jason. Expound on that, please. And I guess where my brain went first was, how do we get our employees to submit reviews? What's that dynamic or conversation like? What do you recommend to your clients when you're talking about employee reviews with them?
Yeah, so this is a huge one, and it's perhaps the most overlooked component of a reputation strategy. Everyone thinks just it's got to be my customers talking about this and that. Your employee reviews are a massive component of your overall prestige. In fact, if you look up reviews, and I would encourage all of your watchers to do this, search for your membership institution and reviews, and I guarantee you things like Indeed and Glassdoor are showing up very highly in those search results. So to your point, Paul, it's great to offer your employees direct access to leave you reviews. These are all anonymous, by the way, so there shouldn't be any fear of retribution. All of these platforms are very vetted. They do things properly, and it tells people a lot about you with what your employees think, not just your members. But if you've got a lot of good employee reviews, it's going to have a massive impact. So we have some tech tools that help you invite them directly to leave reviews throughout your individual branches, break rooms, employee-only areas, but through text messaging, emails, and et cetera. So we make it quite easy.
Yeah, and I know you guys do some things which we won't touch on too much today, but we will mention some private messaging as well, so people can actually respond, privately and have some discussions about that. I know you work with an organization here in the Lehigh Valley that is the hockey team, the Phantoms, and I know your tool actually provides feedback on experience, right? Customer experience during the game. Did they like the food? Did they like the game?
Right.
Were people treated properly? Which again is another way to gain input for all sorts of organizations, not just credit unions.
Yeah, we believe in a holistic approach to reputation, and that includes public reviews, employee reviews, and private feedback. So a lot of credit unions will, there's heavy reliance on NPS, right, Net Promoter Score, and a lot of people like to use that. And it's a good benchmark. It helps you identify things that are important to fix. Additionally, we can set up private feedback funnels that are specific to certain categories that you want to know about, like your tellers, your loan process, your website, your onboarding. All of these things can give you really good insight from your membership. So let's just say the member was kind enough to leave you a public review. We can follow up with surveys, 1-minute surveys, built for mobile, all these sorts of things, private feedback, and it'll do executive level summaries at the end of the report. And you can follow it up with promotions right through the app. So you can talk about great rates and all these other nice products that you want to feature as well. So yeah, we fully believe that private feedback, we call it direct feedback, in addition to public and employee reviews, is kind of the holy trinity of this process.
Here's just a quick shout out to our sponsor, ironistic.com. Hey, in today's world, everyone knows the importance of having a great website and having an integrated digital marketing plan. If your credit union, community bank, or any other company is looking for that help, I can highly recommend ironistic.com. Check them out. We talk all the time about competitive differentiation, right? What makes us different? We struggle all the time with credit unions wanting to talk about the rates and fees, and we know that's important in financial services, but it is not the thing that's going to make them different, right, Paul? So this is interesting because when someone does land on their website, or someone does go into a branch, or someone does see them outside in the community doing something, this creates part of that whole what makes me different, what makes my credit union different. Paul, that's something that you're super passionate about. You talk all the time with credit unions about.
Well, I'm going to go to something that I know is at the core of what Jason does, and heck, it's in their name. I don't want to talk about my credit union. I want to talk about what other people say about my credit union, and that's type of storytelling is the most powerful and the most impactful and the most convincing to someone who is shopping and who is looking for how can I differentiate this financial institution from another. And just as a quick aside, guys, let's make the point, credit unions aren't just competing against other credit unions. They're competing against everybody in the world who provides a checking account, right, or a loan. So too often we get myopic and we just think about credit unions, but it's the whole world. And if I can point my prospective member to the stories and the feedback and the reviews that they've left, I mean, what a better way to tell the story than to use their words. So, Jason, did I kind of hit the sweet spot as far as what you guys are focused on there?
You did. So what I'd like to do to just a term that we can use to summarize all this is perceived outcome, right? So the perceived outcome, like if I'm looking for, like if I've got a health issue and I'm looking for a medical provider, I would really don't care about the person's details or whatever. I want to hear success stories, right? This guy saved my life.
Right.
This guy fixed me up. I'm as good as new. I feel like I'm 20 again. So for the credit unions, perceived outcome is massive, right? So if you think of it, if anyone's in any process of considering a new institution for whatever product or service, that's what they want. They don't necessarily, rates are important and all that to a certain degree, but is what I'm getting going to do what I hope it will do? So for example, Amazon and Google and big operators like that, what they do is they rank products and businesses by what they perceive is going to be the best outcome. So how do they do that? They look at things like reviews and other signals that tell people. So on Amazon, they don't want to recommend the junky product that someone's going to return. They want to recommend really good products people are happy with, so they're not going to return it. They're going to buy more stuff from us because they trust us. They made a good recommendation. I'm happy. I'm going to buy it again. So for the credit unions, focus on that perceived outcome. If the public, the members that you're trying to attract, believe that they're going to get a good product, a great service, good rates and all that, they're far more likely to convert. And the lifetime value of these people is going to be massive. It's not just transactional business. They're going to be in it for the long haul, and then they're going to tell their friends what a great experience they had. So you get the whole referral network kicking in as well. So perceived outcome is really something that should be focused on.
Yeah, I love that. And that's something that you can leverage in your sales and marketing efforts going forward. That becomes your brand right there, is what you're seeing and hearing.
Definitely.
Hey, I wanted to go back to something that you touched on when you talked about NPS. A lot of our clients are using that to various different extents, and in some cases they're still doing customer satisfaction feedback and so forth. I hear from a lot of organizations that, well, if we don't hit a 5.0, we haven't done our job. If we're not at the very high end, if we're not perfect, in other words, we haven't done our job. And while that's great from an aspirational standpoint, from a reality standpoint, it probably isn't. But how do you advise your clients, Jason, when we talk about how many stars they get and what the actual rating is? Can you help our credit unions maybe get their arms around that a little bit better? What should they be focused on when they talk about the 5 stars?
No, that's a great point. And, perfection is almost unbelievable. When you see something that looks too good to be true, probably raises some red flags. We'd like to use the phrase strive for 4.5, right? So a lot of studies suggest that 4.5 is kind of the mental prestige barrier. Yeah. Anything that if you're looking for a hotel when you travel or a restaurant, things like that, if it's that, kind of 4.5 overall, you feel pretty okay with that, right? That's just, I feel comfortable in I'm going to get, because a lot of the 1 stars reviews that will bring overall scores down tend to be kind of outliers. It could be either non-authentic or, something kind of unrelated. If you buy a package and it's, the delivery person threw it in a puddle, they'll get a 1-star review. It has really nothing to do with the product, but strive for 4.5. That's kind of a good place to start. Now, you should certainly aim for higher, but that's just kind of where you want to really focus on achieving first, and then volume and recency. Once you get there, please don't stop, because that's a huge mistake. You'd be like, oh, my job is done. We're 4. No, because Google and other search rankings will look at these items, right? Relevancy is based on recency and volume in addition to quality. 3 things: quality, volume, and recency, and you have to do all 3. One quick word on NPS. We're big believer. So what I tell people, if they're heavily involved in NPS, it's great. You've taken a good step, right? So it proves that you care and you're trying to identify areas that need importance. But please don't confuse NPS with reputation management. Completely different items. NPS will give you kind of direction for improvement, but then focus on reputation as the public social proof element, because NPS doesn't have that, right? NPS is not showing everyone externally that you've done these things to improve it. So NPS is great, and our platform, we actually have some NPS tools in there that are quite nice. But if you have an NPS strategy, terrific. Let's parlay that into the public reputation experience that will help you attract new members. So don't do one without the other is my point.
Love that. Yep. Bill, I thought of you when he was talking about frequency and relevancy. It's core to marketing effectiveness, right?
Yeah, it really is. You got to be in front of people all the time, and lots of different. It all contributes, a little of this, a little of that, but it's all put into the mix. For sure, makes the difference. Yeah, and Jason, I think that when we get into this competitive differentiate, this branding piece, there's some real core things that I think a lot of credit unions are ignoring as well. I go to so many credit union websites, or I speak to so many credit unions in person, and Paul, you do the same thing, working with them one-on-one. I don't think they understand how to build a true brand. I think they're struggling with that. Again, it's not rates and fees, because you can get an auto loan all over the place. You can get a home equity loan all over the place. You can find a credit card. Hey, my mailbox is filled every day, literally probably with 3 to 5 credit card offers. I tear them up because there's no relationship. First of all, I don't need them, but the truth is, I don't need it. I want to work with somebody that I trust, someone I understand, someone who's there to help me with information. And so I really believe that this is something that people just aren't paying enough attention to. And I think that building that brand, those unique points that make them different, the community involvement they do, the financial literacy, the way they help people of all different ages, is such an important part. I just started, as I was sitting here thinking about it, that's some of the messaging that could be built into the reputation platform as well. What we're doing and how we get that messaging out, I think is important. And Paul, feel free to chime in here, because we talk about this all the time. Our brand has to be unique. It has to be us. We have to be different. Otherwise, we're like everybody else. Rates and fees do not make us different.
Yeah, no doubt. And we have to know how to live it too. And so I think that's the piece that oftentimes we miss is our marketing people come up with great brands, but then what does that mean to each individual? Certainly the front-facing staff, but even your support staff, what does it mean to them? So, Jason, how do you balance all of that, or advise your clients to balance all of that? We talked about the employee component before and getting their input, but what about kind of making sure that everybody knows how they're contributing to those 5-star reviews that we're aspiring to get to?
This is such a wonderful topic to discuss, because this is like truly the feel-good component of what we do. When we sit back and, when we have a new onboard and, they're usually not in a very good place, and we say, hey, we're gonna improve this, and then in real time you see it. We just started working with a financial institution, about 30 locations, and they were, really poor. And I think the bar was set pretty low, and it's achieved just atmospheric results in about 3 weeks' time, and to my astonishment as well as theirs. But what's cool about it is it's a culture thing. Yeah. So, and you can explain to your staff, like, this is really meaningful. People like people at the branches. That's why they go back. They're friendly. They're part of their community. And if you get them to buy in and be like, they're coming here because they like you, not just us. I mean, we give them products and things, but they like you. They like coming here. Use that for leverage. And then we have some great tools that can actually track engagement amongst staff members. So you can have little contests between your branches and say, hey, we're going to do a little pizza party for, this branch that, does the best job, or these employees that get mentioned. So it does a wonderful job for creating culture. It makes everyone feel empowered, like they mean something to the credit union, which is something that the larger institutions really can't. They can't do that. They're just not kind of built that way. But what a wonderful opportunity for the credit unions to really take advantage of the personal nature of the way they do business, and really promote the things and the people that the members like.
And Paul, we talk. I'm sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's awesome, Jason, because employees want to work in an environment like that, or at least the type of employees that we need. They want to work in an environment like that, where they're celebrating those successes and kind of challenging each other in a positive way like that. So love hearing that.
Pride.
Yeah, right, exactly.
What I was going to say is accountability. The other thing that this does, especially on the employee side, if we do start to see that certain employees or certain branches are getting a lot of bad reviews, that gives us the ability to go in and see what's going on here. How can we fix that? Not to discipline them, but to say, what problems are we having here? Is it staffing? And Paul, you say it all the time. Accountability is critical to increase performance.
Well, and too often, guys, accountability is generalized, right? It's not specific enough. So with, here's a great example, Jason, of, you can show somebody who got the 4.7 reviews and who got the 2.7 reviews,
Yep.
It's
And
certainly
AI will tell you
quantifiable.
that in a moment, every day. In fact, it'll say, "Hey, this employee is mentioned," and or this service is mentioned as something that people are not real happy about. So yeah, you're going to get amazing insight immediately for accountability.
Hey, I want to ask about one other area. We talked about, I love the tracking component that you just alluded to from the employee side. What about from the growth side, the member side, the member acquisition side? How do you talk to your clients or prospective clients about the correlation between more stars, better reviews, and growth potential, acquisition, in other words? What do you talk to them about in that regard, Jason?
Yeah. So what's great about it is this is very linear, right? So this is something that we can prove through data, and I can give you some material that you can share with in the comments and all. Mm-hmm. But so essentially, the better you are with the public perception, so in terms of public reviews and things, the more visibility you'll have, right? So things like Google Maps. So not sure everybody realizes how impactful Google Maps converts way better than any paid ads or organic search results. It's by far the number one thing to focus and optimize for. So if you have a better relevant position in Google with organic and in Maps, you will get so many more visibility. You'll have more visibility, right? Organic search results. You'll have more map views. You'll have more conversions. So it's very linear. So you can actually say, if you improve by this much, you're going to see this much more visibility, which means this much more conversion, people to your website, so on and so forth, which leads you down to the very granular level. How many more members am I going to get from this? And what's my lifetime value of these members? So we can tell you with authority that if you improve to a certain degree, these are the expectations, and you can track it out in real time. It's actually it's quite an amazing process.
It really is. And, we'll wrap it up here in a couple minutes, but the thing I just wanted to mention again is when they get to that website, what are they going to do next? Okay. Or if they make that call or they visit that branch, what is it they're going to do next? We have to make sure we continue to work on, I would say a couple of things. Those call to actions. It isn't always selling next. It might be just educating. Again, I get back to, for instance, the best way to buy a car, how to use your home equity, how to, reduce credit card debt. Do things to help them, because sometimes they're not ready for that conversion to apply yet. But we know that when they get to the website, they also might see about the reputation, who you are, what you do in the community. Why do I really want to be involved in this credit union? Hey, they saw a sign at a concert over the weekend, big logo, credit union name, big up there on a banner above the stage the whole time. Now they start thinking about, and they see an ad for a car, or they see a reputation, a car loan, and now they go. This is where the rubber hits the road. We have to figure out what those messaging will be, what they're going to see next, and we have to remove obstacles also for them to make that next move. It might be an educational move. It might be a apply. Who knows? But we have to fix all of those things, because once they get to that website or once they get to that branch, that's where the rubber hits the road. We have one chance to make it great, or else we're going to get that bad review online because, boy, these guys are terrible. It took me forever. It was impossible. Their loan app was ridiculous.
Yeah. So one of the ways to get these people over the finish line is to reinforce all of the great comments and feedback that you get, and we can do this with little pieces of tech right on the website. Right at that moment when they're am I going to hit that button to apply for the loan? And then they see right at the top a beautiful curated review that's authentic, and it's like, oh, best experience I ever had. Boom. This credit union really helped me. That is going to matter, right? And we can control the moment. We can control everything with some pretty cool pieces of tech, and it's all automated. So those are the little conversion things that we can help greatly with to get these really highly profitable transactions completed.
Yeah. And hey, I don't like to sell on this podcast necessarily, but I'm going to take a moment to sell right now. Reviews Up is an amazing platform. I've got to tell you, the reason Jason's our second time guest is because they do a great job. And I will tell you, there's a lot of products out there that do some of the things they do, I've found none that do it the way they do it. It's that good. So if you're a credit union looking to increase reviews and reputation, I suggest you reach out to Jason. And Jason, if people want to do that, how would they get in touch with you?
Reviewsup.com. That's the easiest way. We've got contact forms, calendar links you can schedule, and we will provide complimentary audits. So everyone's like, oh, how bad is it really? We'll let you know. And we'll completely unbiased and not a sales pitch, information piece. So we're happy to perform this for any credit union who's interested in knowing where they stand and how it's impacting things. We'll gladly supply the custom information for you, and then we can have conversations if you'd like to learn how to fix it. So happy to provide that service.
Yeah, that's awesome. Paul,
Plus
any closing thoughts?
Plus, they got a cool mascot over his shoulder there. So
he's pretty cool.
Yeah,
he's right here.
Go. Check it out. Yeah.
We'll send one for anyone who does a demo.
I was just going to say, I'm sure you got plenty of those to go
Sales Marketing Podcast Show Special.
It's pretty cool. And it's in the background there, which I like. Yeah, it's pretty special. So, hey, Jason, this is a really relevant topic. Thank you so much for coming back. And the reason I had you back is because I just don't think people realize the impact that this can have on their credit union. And Paul, I know, I as always, it's great to have you here and work together, but I know how important this is also from an internal standpoint of helping the internal people to do a better job with what they do, the culture they build and how they deliver that consistent brand each day for your clients.
I wish, Jason, I had you 20 years ago when I was having to, grow customers and deposits and loans at the bank. So it's amazing. It really simplifies the business if you're willing to invest in it. So congratulations on putting together an awesome product for the marketplace.
No, we really appreciate having us on, and like I said, we'd love to be a resource for any of the viewers that are watching, and just give them an education. Really, that's what we're about, just educating people on the importance of these things and how they can implement strategies to help.
Great.
Good deal, guys.
And in just closing, obviously I'm Bill McKenna. You can reach me at mckennamarketing.com, and Paul Robert, you can reach him at fi-strategies.com. And
don't forget the hyphen. Yeah.
What's that?
Don't forget the hyphen or the dash.
I know.
Yeah,
I
do that.
I always
sometimes.
say the fi-strategies.com. Make sure we have that right. And we're all on LinkedIn as well. If you guys ever want to chat, reach out. Please do so. Hey, and we'd love to hear if you like this podcast. Seriously would. We do put posts of the podcast up on LinkedIn, and if you'd like them and comment, we'd super appreciate it too, because we enjoy doing this, but we also like to know that it's impacting the community that we serve, which is credit unions. So thanks, guys, for today. It was great talking with both of you. We'll catch you again on the next episode of the Credit Union Sales and Marketing Podcast.